Hello, have you ever tried to sit at a computer and record a video? It's not easy. When you get to my age, anyway, this film that you're about to maybe watch or watch 3 minutes of and then turn it off bored is just a record. It's a record of my childhood memories, things that I remember growing up that were important to me, that mattered in my life at the time. As a child, were impressed by things and things that came along, modern inventions, just ordinary everyday things, sounds, stuff that happened around me. I got memories, and with Google now you can get images to go with those memories. So I kind of cobbled a load together, put them in order, and I'm going to talk over them and just bore the bum off everybody who's watching. And hopefully, at the end of it, you think, "Oh, blimey, that was good," or you'll think, "What a load of stuff." But in one way or another, I'm doing it for me, but also generations, grandchildren, great grandchildren, great great grandchildren, people that might haven't even known me, but looking at a child of the 40s, I was born in 1947, and this is my childhood right up until the day I became an adult, which was sometime last Thursday-ish. I don't know if it's happened yet, but that's for other people to comment on. I just put it down on record that all these things were important to me at the time, and they're my memories of a childhood. Generations watching this, their memories will be PS3s, Xboxes, mobile phones, communications. I know time travel, who knows? Warp Factor 6, beam me up, Scotty. But your memories will be brand new ones. But when you get to be 70 years old, you'll look back and people will look at them and go, "Wow, how did you manage?" Because things will change very, very quickly. So I just wanted to put down on record that this was the things that mattered to me as a child and impressed me. And kind of as I go along, you'll kind of wonder at some of them, but that was my life then, and it was normal, and we accepted it, and there was no problem. It was what was, and nostalgia from old people, and I'm learning is the memories you log away, and you don't want to lose them. So I'm putting these on record so that I don't lose them. So hope you enjoy it. If you don't, sorry for wasting your time. But, it's not compulsory. You can bug off and do other stuff. So enjoy. Thank you. Okay, some of my earliest memories was listening to the radio. I guess as a baby, I don't know, laying in a pram, but you hear these sounds, and one of the programs that was specially made just for me because I was a baby was Listen with Mother on the radio. And I remember listening, it was just sounds and ladies telling stories in very clipped BBC accents, "Are you sitting comfortably, then I'll begin." I remember that, it was all like really posh, And we watched it on the radio, the old Bakelite radios, which were things of the day, that sort of thing. And to be honest, they were valve radios, and there's valves this and valves there. They used to burn out, they used to get really hot and burn out, and everyone said, "Oh, the valve's gone then, or you can get a new one." And everything you needed to know was in the Radio Times. The Radio Times listed everything that was on the radio, and TV, which had just been, well, there was one channel of TV, one channel. That was BBC, not one, just BBC. And we didn't have a telly, so it was irrelevant. The radio ruled, the radio was king. Everything I remember, my earliest memories of sound and music was on the radio. And I remember one of the first trips out I can always remember was going down to the nursery. And the nursery wasn't like we went to stay and play. It was where they weighed babies and checked their health, and there were nurses in uniforms, and they kind of just checked everybody over for rickets and head lice, and I don't know what it was they was looking for, but you used to just go down there on a regular basis. And Mum used to get the big tins of dried milk, There's a picture of a tin of dried milk and cod liver oil, whatever the hell that was. I don't know. This foul-tasting cod liver oil that they used to make you drink, and then the orange juice was like pure orange juice, squeezed oranges, which in its day was a bit of a luxury, but compared to cod liver oil, it was honey. You just didn't want to have too much cod liver oil, and you needed an awful lot of orange juice to get the taste out of your mouth. But that was one memory I'll never forget. Cod liver oil. Oh. Of course, the purpose of cod liver oil was to keep you regular, to keep your bowels open, and you didn't want your bowels open because, yeah, obviously I'm a baby. I can just shit myself basically. But excuse me. Uh, but if you had to go to the toilet, you had to go outside the house, alongside the house, and out into the yard, and there was the toilet, sitting there in all its glory and all sorts of weathers, and you did your business out there. And for toilet paper, you couldn't afford to buy tissue. Tissue didn't exist. It was you had two choices: newspaper chopped up, cut up into squares, put a bit of string through it, hang it on the wall, or you could buy stuff called Jay's toilet paper, toilet tissue. It was basically shiny paper to do the job of cleaning your waist, wiping your bum. it just like I don't know what they were thinking. Shiny paper to wipe your bum. No, you used a newspaper, and if you got print on your bum, you got print on your bum. But going outside to the toilet was just what everybody did. It wasn't I don't know, well, unusual. It was just what was again. It's of its time. And your bed when you went to bed at night, you didn't have central heating. You had the fire maybe in the front room that burned out till bedtime, and you went in with a hot water bottle and you got in your bed and you had an old grey army blanket, basically all our ex-surplus after the war army blankets, and to supplement it, we on my bed I had a great army greatcoat. It was called. Army greatcoat. It was an old ex-army enormous greatcoat. That's probably why it was called a greatcoat. I've just figured that out. It took me 70 years. Anyway, you had this coat which was an extra blanket, but had the disadvantage or advantage, I suppose, in some ways that you could wake up, with your leg in a sleeve and all sorts of complications. But it did help keep you warm during the night, and if you were lucky, the bed bugs never bothered you. Bed bugs, you think, what's bed bugs? Well, it's little bugs that live in and around your bedding, in your mattress, in your blankets, under the wallpaper, and they just came out at night and helped themselves to your blood by biting into you and sucking your blood. And they was quite average, quite normal. Every house had them, and they come out with I suppose the treatment was stuff called flit, F-L-I-T, flit, and you got this kind of poison. You put it in a flit gun, which was a bike pump with a tin on the end of it, and you sprayed it. You pumped and sprayed this stuff. You just kind of fumigated the whole room, but in fact, it was the first form of chemical warfare because, yeah, it might have killed a few bed bugs, but I think it killed a few kids as well. Because I can remember when I went to bed and this flit gun was still, the fumes were still in the air. I thought, I'm not going to survive this night. We're all going to die. I remember that was a memory of childhood. I think a lot of my generation remember the old flit gun. You'd have to Google that, I guess. I don't know, find out about it. But it existed. So the next phase of school days, I suppose you call them, is school days. So you kind of you went to school when you was about 4. And you left school when you was 15. You went through the school system. My school was Burley Road School, Northwest 5, the old Victorian red brick monolith. It was a huge, great school. And you went in one gate, age 4, and you come out another gate, age 15, if you was lucky. Some of us didn't make it through to 15. Some of us were transferred, expelled, kicked out, put into care, whatever stories we had to tell that you never, knew what was going to happen. But school was, you went there, you attended, you listened, you paid attention, and you got on with it. And you were sent off to school with your satchel, bloody satchel, stuff that was in there, had nothing to do with school really. And I always remember having to wear short trousers, even in the juniors. Going first of all, it didn't matter. During the infants, your short trousers is fine. I'm 4 or 5 years old. Doesn't really matter, does it? But then you get a bit older and you see bigger boys, and you don't want to wear short trousers. And then to cap it all, on top of that, I was given hobnail boots, ex-army hobnail boots to wear because I used to go through a pair of shoes a week, according to my mother. And you get a pair of army boots and they'd last you like through the war forever. And then to make matters worse, they get things called cleats, which was like metal, almost horseshoes, and you banged them in on the bottom underneath to make your shoes last longer. And you banged them into the heels and sometimes the toes, and you walked along and you sounded just like a bloody horse coming down the road. And I remember if you took a run up and slid, you sometimes used to get sparks coming out of them. But they was more dangerous than anything because you never had any grip at all. And you was often going, falling over and having all sorts of sliding into lampposts was the biggest accident. And then the famous balaclava in the winter, the famous balaclava that Mum always knitted one, and that was a great bit of kit, lasted me for years. And of course, when you first get it, it's supposed to last for years, so it's 10 sizes too big. So you kind of put it on and you look through the front and you've got the hole, and then you sort of turn round, but the hole stays at the front, so you go blind. The balaclava stays where it is, and that's made of wool, so imagine how comfortable that was around your neck and on your skin. And I ended up used to go off to school dressed up in my uniform and my boots and my satchel and my balaclava and my cap. What you see on screen now is a picture of a mocked-up picture of me. This is what I felt like I looked like, and in my head I'm kind of thinking, well, why have I got short trousers and hobnail boots on, and I want to be trendy. I want leather jacket and jeans, I suppose. Late 50s, early 60s, who knows? Anyway, you got to school, and then there was a thing called viral. I don't know, my generation's probably the only mob that used to have it, and viral was molasses, I think it was, like real treacly, thick molasses, and it had all sorts of things, vitamins that you needed in it, and then you got a spoonful a day. You had to take your own spoon in, which was pretty weird, going to school with a spoon tucked in your top pocket, and you're all queued up and you got a nurse. If you didn't bring your own spoon, you had the class spoon, and trust me, nobody wanted that because everybody shared it, and that wasn't such a health and safety thing. But don't even get me started on health and safety. That hadn't even turned up yet. I was there. Of course, schools back in those days, you had your school classrooms were set out and your desks were in rows, and you went to your desk every morning, and you was wedged into the desk and lined up to face the front. You paid attention, and you sat there for one lesson, and then you went to another lesson, or the teacher came in, and you got through the day. Usually, sort of looking for the breaks, playtime, dinner time, any time out of the class used to bore me silly. And they give you exercise books. There's one of the exercise books, and that was for putting all your jottings down. Of course, on the back of the exercise books, as I recall, had all the answers to the questions they was asking, all the times table and the fractions and decimals. Well, I don't know about decimals. They hadn't even invented decimals yet, but they gave you these books with all the times tables on the back, which seemed a bit dopey. And you had to have your plimsolls for PE. Plimsolls. They literally were canvas shoes that made your feet smell. And if you was lucky enough to get picked for the school football team, which I was, you had to get yourself a pair of football boots. Now, all you kids out there playing football today, with your slip-on rubber, I don't know what these things are, they're so light now, they're like wearing a pair of slippers. But have a look on that. That's what on screen is what we used to wear playing football. And they were leather, solid, leather, football boots with nailing studs. And you just nailed new ones in when they wore out, and they weighed a ton. And don't even get started on the footballs. They were absorbent leather, laced killers. You headed one of them and you had concussion for a month. We got to get back to health and safety. These were the drinking fountains that was in the playground, and we got a drink of water from. No bottles of water, no taking a bottle of water and some kelp for your lunch. You know, this was all like school dinners, and you want a drink of water, you drink from the gob fountain like everyone else. And school milk was the greatest thing. You used to get little bottles of milk. There's a third of a pint or something like that, and you all queued up and got one. And if you got the job as milk monitor, which I usually tried to engineer, you if there's any left, you got an extra one or two or five. And of course, you had to drink your milk, or you'd end up in the dentist. And well, that's a picture of a dentist surgery, as I recall it when I was a kid growing up. And the dentist, I remember a few times going, it was like he was going in to be tortured. I was terrified, and he always came out sore and bleeding and crying, and it's put me off dentists for the rest of my life. It sort of scarred me, my entire generation, I think. And now a few domestic memories. I remember mum cooking dinners for four kids, dad, mum, six of us, cooking dinners on the sort of cooker you see on the screen there, and that was considered high luxury. And in fact, it was in a kitchen that was no bigger than your average cupboard. I think people got more cupboards than they had kitchens back in them days. And everything was gas, of course, on the gas, on the old meter, the old gas meter. You put a shilling in the meter, and that lasts as long as it lasted. And generally speaking, you never knew when it was going to go, but you always had to have a shilling ready. Oh, gas is gone, put a shilling in. As well as panics. Pop down shops, get a shilling. Kitchen, because it was small, we had everything in one cupboard pretty much, and that's on screen as a picture of cupboards that were quite, I can't say popular, they were the only sort of cupboards that held everything. Had a fold down shelf and top cupboard, bottom cupboard, drawers, pots, pans, food preparation, everything went on that. It was a work surface, worktop, a utility bit of 50s, 60s utility furniture, and then of course mum had to do the washing. She got the old scrubbing board out. Anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's not a musical instrument, although it has been at times. That's a whole other story. But it's a scrubbing board. You just rub your washing on it, get a lather up, and then you run it through the mangle. If you had a mangle. I mean, mangle, you try and explain that to people nowadays. What's a mangle? I don't know. I Google it. Again, I say to kids nowadays, Google it, because I can't even start to describe these things. Anyway, just get it all dry on a good day, hang it out, and no tumble dryers, nothing like that. Your washing line hanging off the roof or out in the garden, and then mum would do the ironing. I've had many a memory of mum doing the ironing with the iron plugged into the light socket. Yes, it was true. She plugged the iron into the light socket. We're back on health and safety, which, don't forget, hadn't been invented yet. Health and safety was not a thing, wasn't an issue. Nobody gave a rat's bottom what was going on, because you just got on with it. And health and safety, well, that's a whole other thing I could get into, but maybe another day I'll have a rant about that. But she was plugged into the light socket, and then there's a picture of the light socket. You kind of, you had your light on, your iron plugged in it, and you ironed away, swinging left, right, and centre, and hoping nothing blew up. Mum did the ironing, and as best she could with that gadget. And looking back, I don't know how we all survived, but that was the way things were. And there's some happy domestic memories here, anyway. Then you've got the bin men. The bin men used to come around once a week. In all weathers, rain or shine, snow, they didn't complain. They picked up your bin, one bin per household. Not green bin, red bin, yellow bin, brown bin, black bin. Just pick up your bin, tip it in the rubbish, bring it back, sling it in the front of the house, onto the next house, and then down a tip to dump it all off, all weathers. Then the coalman used to deliver 100 weight of coal on his back from the lorry down to your coal hole, wherever that was, your coal cellar. It could have been a hole in the pavement, could have been all sorts. Box in the back garden, could have been some people that had it in their front room, but then of course, I mean, following it, you had the paraffin man, paraffin heaters, all that was the modern technology. Modern technology paraffin that came along, and probably killed a few people along the way with fumes and fires. The old milkman had his milkman used to deliver the milk to your doorstep. Started off with his horse and cart full of milk, door to door, pint of milk on your doorstep every morning, fresh as a daisy. And he got electrified. He got his push me pull you. Pressed a button and that went along and ran on a battery. Made his life a bit easier. Still every morning, fresh milk on your doorstep. And then he got his milk float. The old milk floats. Oh dear, the amount of pints of milk I borrowed off of one of those. Never paid them back, but I was thirsty. And you have 2 pints of milk or 2 pints of sterilised milk. If you've never tasted sterilised milk, you don't know what you missed. It's the worst milk ever in the history of the universe. Sterilised milk. My nan used to love it. My mum used to love it. Family allowance. God, blimey, do you remember the old family allowance book? That was so much per week for each child, other than the first one, I think. 8 shillings a week. God, that was a old mum's fags.
Just a happy crowd of me. We're all pals together, the miners of the ABC. And now miners, all together. We are the boys and girls well known as miners of the ABC. And every Saturday all line up to see the films we like.
You just heard the song The ABC Miners, the first song I ever learned. We are the boys. We used to sing Saturday morning pictures. We used to sing that. We learned it and we sang it every time before the film started. We all sang along and we got an ABC veg and ABC Miners we were. Coco the Clown. That was someone who used to come round and teach us road safety. There he is. What a dodgy looking guy. He's a frightened the bejesus out of me. Little bit of pre-Jimmy Savile, I think. I'm not saying nothing there, but he used to worry me, that's for sure. And a lot of other kids. Look at the kids' faces. They look terrified. Me comics, the Beano, the Topper, the Beezer, the Dandy. Oh, they was... You didn't get your comics. It was a crappy old week, that was for sure. I don't know how they afford them. Every week we got our comics. Mum and Dad used to find the money and we got our first telly. Don't know if it was even that good or that big, but that was like the old first tellies looked like, just like that. And we got that BBC One only, one channel. It had what was on, you watched it or you didn't, and it was mostly eyebrow stuff. And we all sat around just like that, watching this tiny little screen. And if there was a kids program on, well, all your mates came round, or if you didn't have a telly, you went round your mate's house. But that's what happened. That's what used to. It was such a new attraction. It was, and watch with mother. You remember listen with mother. Suddenly you could watch with mothers. You could see the lady telling you stories for kids, and there was some of the TV programs. They all are Lenny the Lion, Billy Bunter, Sooty. Just hundreds of them. Just those were the kids programs that came along. Some American, some English, some good, some not so good. Mike Nelson, my hero. Sea Hunt. I wanted to be Mike Nelson. He was a special forces diver, aqua diver. My hero. The Lone Ranger and Tonto with Silver. This bloke was so clean. He was just the cleanest cowboy ever. And Tonto was his best mate. He's Chemo Sabby. And there's our playground. That's where we played football until you couldn't see the ball. And then we went in, or if a car came, stopped the game, let the car by, and then carried on. We played in football in the street. That's where it was. It was our playground. Didn't matter because look, there's no cars there. And then, of course, every November, penny for the guy. Yes, one of the best scams of the year. I used to be rich every November, leading into November. Penny for the guy. People give you money if you made an old guy up and you put it towards fireworks. My first transport was a pair of Jacko skates. If you ever rode a pair of Jackos, they originally had metal wheels, trust me, bone shakers. That's why my knees are shot now, I think, Jacko skates. But that was my first proper, I know, wheel transport, my bike. That's not actually my bike, that's like the bike I had, but I had a boot on it, and you really felt good on one of them. And, if you can afford one, and we're back in the streets for some reason, I don't know why, but that was probably, I put the photograph in twice, but it's just a reminiscence of what kids used to do, just used to play. A little girl in the background carrying her dolly. And that's the sort of thing we used to do, make up a soapbox cart, an old set of pram wheels, bit of wood, an old orange box, jump on it, top of Hargate Hill, come down 90 mile an hour, risking life and limb. All the kids did it, everyone did it, everyone built one, soapbox carts they were called, and had races. And then, of course, we went up to the swings. The health and safety mob didn't exist then, so you got them on them roundabouts, pushed it as fast as you could, and hung on for dear life. If you let go, you was flung off and never seen again. They used to get up some speed, I tell you. Yeah. And the umbrella, that was called the umbrella, that rocked from side to side and spun round and round. And if you didn't hang on there, you got launched into oblivion. I remember them wearing a noise, a clang, clang, clang they made when they like a ringing of a big metal bell. There's one of the typical slides of the day. Imagine climbing up there now. You'd have to have a safety harness, a rope, a net. I don't know. There was none of that. You just didn't have fear. You just had the bigger the slide, the better, more fun. And well, times have changed. Times have changed. That was a promotion by Robertson's Jams. These days, very non-PC, very not really good, under the current circumstances. But in its time, it was harmless. And you collected the badges. I've still got some somewhere. 10 proper metal badges you sent off for, saved the stickers, sent off them, and everyone joined the Golly Club. But nowadays, that's very much frowned upon. But it was one of those kids' collectibles. Sweet cigarettes. They sold cigarettes. They looked like cigarettes, but they were sweets, and they were called Phantoms, or loads of other. But they was encouraging kids to get on the fags. You see, that was the first link. And sweets. This is how the sweet shop looked. Right? I mean, is it any wonder that kids used to nick sweets? Everything. Look, no matter how tall you are, you got a head height, knee height, shoulder height, whatever. And they was on display, and you just picked them up. And Woolworths, don't even talk to me about Woolworths. You put everything at head height. So a lot of career criminals started their careers in Woolworths. It was there. You reached out, and it was there. And the choice of sweets in the day, there's some of them, some of them still around, Mars bars, Kit Kats, and that. But so many different choices, and some sweets stayed the course, others changed their names even. But and the best sweet in the history of the whole United World was the Jamboree bag. A Jamboree bag was a little bag full of sort of sweets, not no sweets, but you got a toy in there, some sort of toy, and you never knew what was in there until you opened it. Machines outside shops, put a penny in, turn the handle, get a bubble gum or whatever. They sort of hang about into the 70s, 80s, I think. Still some about somewhere, but and of course these bolted on the walls outside shops, the old machines. You couldn't get them off the wall because God knows we tried. We tried to get them, but they had sweets in there, and of course Lovely Jubbly. That was the promotion of Jubbly, an orange drink which you could freeze, and it would last you about a year if you had a frozen Jubbly. And Expression Lovely Jubbly was one of their advertising campaigns. An old Del Boy nicked it. And then broken biscuits down the shop. Go have a pound of broken biscuits, please. And you get a load of different, all the cream biscuits, different biscuits. All because they were broken, you got them. Yeah, look, tuppence a pound. Yeah, good lord, I wished. 5 Woodbines. You could go and buy 5 cigarettes in a packet, and he didn't really used to worry whether you was 10 or 40. They would just serve you, 8 years old. But sometimes they wouldn't, but mostly they go, yeah, just ask for me mum. The choice of some of the fags that we had during the day that have long gone. You might recognise some of them if you're of an age. But yeah, you could buy cigarettes. Most kids could go in and get a cigarette. And if they were shut, there was a machine outside. But I think it was half a crown, 2 and 6, 25p. Put it in, turn the knob, pull the drawer, and you got a packet of eggs. You could even get milk in a milk machine. I swear. And it was in like a triangle, like a jubbly size shaped thing. If you was very good, you could get your hand up the thing and pull one out without putting money in. But that's neither here nor there. Someone told me about that. My first mobile phone. That was it. The phone box. Put in your money. If someone answered, you press button A. If someone didn't, you press button B and got your money back. And used to run into phone boxes, pressing button B, and every now and again you'd get fourpence. There was the first record player you hoped to own. I didn't own one until later in my teens, but your records were on that, 45s by then, but you got your records and your first transistor radio. That's a radio that didn't plug in, and a reel-to-reel tape recorder to tape the hits of the day without the DJ's voice, if you could press stop quick enough, but tape what you own, sort of making up your own playlist. That was how you made playlists in them days. And there's old Fluff Freeman, top DJ in his day. Have a look. He was the top man. You should do Pick of the Pops on Sunday. You get the top 20, and you play everyone. One of the few programs that played the top 20 in them days. It was all swing and radiogram. Mum and Dad bought a radiogram, and it was a radio and a record player, gramophone, and you stored records in it. It was a state-of-the-art piece of furniture. Every home usually had one eventually. There's a picture there of some of the old 78s, old records. 78, they played on 78 speed, but they had big old Baker-like things used to break in half and snap into 1,000 pieces. But that was the first records I remember. And winkle pickers. These shoes were called winkle pickers, and I had a pair, and they killed your feet. Can you imagine shoes like that with feet in them? Oh God, your toes are surprising. I'm not a pointy-toed cripple by now. And we get on finally to the pools. Mum always used to dream of winning the pools. I'm going to win the pools this week, she said, and we're all going to be all right. We're going to buy a house, we're going to live in the country, and everything's going to be the perfect life. And everyone dreamed of winning the pools. And that was £75,000, I think, was the jackpot in those days, which was an absolute fortune. It would change your life forever. You'd be a millionaire. You'd be, by today's standards, a millionaire. And a lot of people became millionaires by winning the pools, and it was Mum's dream and every working man's dream to win the pools. But sad to say, we never did. And to this day, I think we got the lottery now, so we all look on that and say, well, we're going to win the lottery next week. But sad to say, you probably never will. I did this little film to remind me, in case I forget things, because as you get older, you forget things. It's things I remember when I was a boy growing up, but to be fair, I made a memory that might remind me if I lose my memory. I don't know. Hope you enjoyed it. There's a few more things I tagged on the end here, and there you go. Look, go to bed with a candle because electric kind of was expensive, or gaslight. We had gaslight. That was gas that was pumped in through a light in the wall. How good was that? If you wanted a bath, that's where you had it, in front of the fire with an old tin bath. A tin bath, and you used Lifebuoy soap, carbolic soap. Took your skin off, but you was clean. And if you wanted to go, you went outside. That was in the yard. It was freezing cold, all weathers. And Mama used a scrubbing ball, which became an instrument, I think, in a band. But look it up. A mangle, a clip-on mangle, a luxury piece of equipment for all mothers. A mangle. Tooth powder. That's not even powder. That's a solid soap tablet of toothpaste. A farthing. You didn't have much if you had a farthing, but you could buy sweets with it. It was a quarter of a penny. A halfpenny or a halfpenny. That was, Again, you could buy sweets, penny, or you could get low. Penny sweets was all 4 for a penny sweets. You'd get blackjacks, fruits, salads. Half a crown, you was loaded with half a crown. 2 and 6. Or you could save your money in the national savings, buy the stamps, anything from a tanner to a shilling, 2 bob. By postal order, or uncle might send you one if you was somewhere miles away as a present. Spangles, love spangles. Spangles was all sorts of flavours, but there's one thing I never knew about Spangles, and I bet you didn't know that neither. So it explains a lot. Fries 5 centres. There was one bar of chocolate with 5 different flavours in the middle. Thunderbang used to get see with the comics free. The Thunderbang used to flick it and made an almighty bang. That was my first playlist. I say made a playlist, put records on, let them drop. Old railway carriages, I missed them. I put that in there just as a memory for me. Green Shield stamps you used to get with your shopping. You filled up a book, and when you got 4,000 books, you won a spoon or something. Cigarette fag coupons. You got them in your cigarettes, saved them up again, loads and loads. Sometimes at a job you got London vouchers, and there finally is the job I always wanted as a kid: a night watchman, minding a hole, minding a hole. They used to go round the streets, and there they'd be old boys in a canvas shelter with a full brazier burning a fire, and they'd be boiling a kettle up or frying eggs or doing whatever. And I've been there all night just looking after a hole in the road, and I thought, that's the job for me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my little film. If you did, good. If not, it was for me and for everybody to remember that, you know, those times when we was kids once, us old folks. Take it easy, stay safe. God bless.